Welcome to Simply Explain All, where we dive deep into the hidden currents of global politics and uncover the truth below. The Caribbean Sea is famous for its stunning beauty, yet today it hosts a dangerous game of power and military intimidation. In this strategic region, a massive buildup of military hardware has quietly taken place, threatening to ignite a devastating conflict. It began with a sudden announcement from the highest levels of power, declaring a new war against an invisible enemy at sea. Destroyers and aircraft carriers were deployed with urgent speed, bringing the full weight of the American military to these calm waters. On the other side of this equation sat humble wooden fishing boats, drifting quietly, unaware they were now designated as targets. The disparity in power is absolute, pitting the most advanced naval force in history against vessels that barely possess modern navigation. The official reason given for this deployment was to intercept what they called coconut powder, a code word for illegal narcotics. Under the cover of darkness, helicopters patrol the waves, hunting for these illicit shipments that are allegedly flooding towards the north. The narrative presented to the public suggests a direct line of supply from the Venezuelan coast straight into American cities. Military leaders stood firm, claiming this operation was essential to protect the nation from the scourge of addiction and crime. However, independent observers began to question if the cargo on these small boats truly justified such a massive military response. A significant question emerged regarding the evidence, as the scale of the deployment seemed vastly disproportionate to the actual threat. Journalists and analysts around the world started digging deeper, looking for the facts that might contradict the official government story. To understand the truth, we must first examine the actual sources of the substances that are causing harm within America. Statistics show that fentanyl, the most dangerous substance, primarily enters through the land border, originating from cartels in Mexico. The vast majority of these synthetic opioids are smuggled through legal ports of entry on land, not via the Caribbean Sea. When we look at cocaine specifically, the data points overwhelmingly to Colombia as the world's largest producer of the coca leaf. Production levels in neighboring countries dwarf anything coming out of Venezuela, making the focus on Venezuelan waters logically inconsistent. Most cocaine routes actually flow from Colombia's Pacific coast, heading north towards Central America, bypassing the Caribbean almost entirely. Traffickers prefer the Pacific route because it is direct and less patrolled, unlike the heavily monitored waters of the Caribbean. The sophisticated narco submarines used by cartels are almost exclusively found in the Pacific, far away from the Venezuelan coastline. Satellite imagery of the Caribbean often shows calm waters, contradicting the narrative of a chaotic highway for illicit drug shipments. Experts argue that using Venezuela as a primary hub makes little economic sense for cartels who prioritize efficiency and speed. So if the geography and the economics do not add up, we must ask ourselves what is truly driving this mission. The persistence of this military buildup suggests a motivation that goes far beyond simple law enforcement or drug interdiction efforts. Advanced radar systems designed to track supersonic missiles are now being used to hunt down wooden boats powered by diesel engines. For the local population, the roar of jet engines has become a daily reminder of a power that could crush them instantly. This aggressive posture has not gone unnoticed by the international community, raising alarms within the halls of the United Nations. Diplomats have voiced concerns that deploying war machines against civilian vessels constitutes a violation of international maritime laws and norms. The terms illegal and unrestrained have been used to describe a strategy that seems to ignore the sovereignty of other nations. Live fire exercises are conducted regularly, serving as a loud and clear message of intimidation to anyone watching from the shore. The cost of a single munition fired in these drills often exceeds what a Venezuelan fishing family earns in a lifetime. It is a situation where might seems to be making right, overshadowing the principles of justice and proportionate response at sea. From the cockpit of a fighter jet, the coastline is just a landscape of targets, detached from the human reality below. More than 13,000 troops have been positioned in the region, creating a ring of steel around the Venezuelan nation. Amphibious assault drills suggest that the military is preparing for something far more complex than simply chasing drug smugglers' boats. For the people living on the coast, the horizon has transformed from a source of livelihood into a source of constant fear. Analysts warn that in such a tense environment, a single misunderstanding or accidental collision could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. The situation is balanced on a knife's edge, where one wrong move could plunge the entire region into open warfare. Most of Venezuela's population and infrastructure are concentrated along the coast, leaving them completely exposed to naval bombardment. Defensive systems on the ground are on high alert, creating a hair-trigger environment where hesitation could mean total destruction. Commanders on these floating fortresses hold the power to launch strikes that could change the geopolitical landscape in mere minutes. Time appears to be running out as the rhetoric hardens and the military machinery moves closer to the point of no return. But to understand the endgame, we must look past the drugs and follow the bananas to the real treasure hidden beneath. History teaches us that interventions in this region are rarely about morality and almost always about controlling valuable natural resources. The current leadership in Venezuela stands as an obstacle to foreign access, protecting what they consider their national sovereign wealth. Beneath the soil of this troubled nation lies the largest proven oil reserve on the entire planet, a prize of incalculable value. Despite the decaying infrastructure, the potential wealth sitting underground is enough to power the world's largest economies for decades. Control over these reserves would guarantee energy security for the United States and deny strategic rivals access to the same fuel. The economics are undeniable. Whoever controls the tap controls the price, the supply, and ultimately the global economic balance. Years of crushing economic sanctions were designed to weaken the government's grip on these resources, but they have failed to topple it. The result has been widespread suffering for the populace. While the oil remains locked underground, inaccessible to the global market. Now, the strategy has shifted from economic pressure to direct military encirclement, a checkmate move intended to force a surrender. By physically blocking the coastline, the military effectively cuts off the lifeline of the regime, preventing oil exports entirely. American refineries, specifically built to process heavy Venezuelan crude, are also eager to see the flow of oil resume. Global energy instability adds urgency to the mission, providing a convenient economic justification for aggressive foreign policy maneuvers. Behind closed doors, the conversation is likely less about stopping drugs and more about securing contracts for future extraction. The drug war narrative serves as a perfect mask, a morally defensible cover for a classic resource grab operation. They claim to bring democracy and stability, but the cargo they deliver consists primarily of weapons, threats, and instability. Young soldiers are sent to patrol these waters, believing they are protecting their homeland, unaware of the corporate interests involved. The extraction of this black gold has always come at a high cost to the sovereignty and peace of Latin America. Back home, aware citizens remember the lessons of past conflicts and are raising their voices against another war for oil. The consensus is cracking as lawmakers begin to demand answers about the true objectives and legal basis of the mission. Congressional committees have issued urgent requests for classified documents to prove the legality of these provocative naval maneuvers. Yet, the administration remains silent, offering no concrete evidence to justify the risk of starting a major regional war. Human rights groups warn that further escalation will only deepen the humanitarian crisis that has already displaced millions of people. A military conflict would unleash a wave of migration that would destabilize not just Venezuela, but all neighboring countries. Neighbors watch with growing alarm, forced to militarize their own borders in anticipation of the chaos that might ensue. Like a small boat in a hurricane, the nation of Venezuela is battered by forces far beyond its control or making. The storm clouds are gathering, and the window of opportunity to de-escalate this dangerous confrontation is closing rapidly. It takes only one impulsive decision, one order given in anger, to turn this Cold War into a hot one. The true victims of this power struggle are the families who wait in fear, wondering if tomorrow will bring fire from the sky. Warships, oil, drugs, and money weave together a complex web of deception that is difficult for the public to untangle. Our duty is to look beyond the headlines, to piece together the fragments of truth that are often hidden in plain sight. The Caribbean remains beautiful, but its waters are now churned by the propellers of a fleet sent for questionable purposes. We must ask ourselves if this is truly about national security, or if it is simply business by other means. In the darkness of geopolitical maneuvering, we need the light of scrutiny to expose the risks being taken in our name. Investigative journalism remains our best defense against the manipulation of facts and the manufacturing of consent for war. Global citizens are waking up to the reality that peace is fragile and must be actively defended against corporate greed. As the sun sets on the Caribbean, the shadows of these warships stretch long, covering the region in uncertainty and dread. The choice between war and peace often lies in the hands of the few, but the consequences are felt by the many. Let us hope that the laughter of children on these beaches is not silenced by the thunder of naval artillery. Two nations, bound by geography but separated by ideology and interest, stand locked in a dangerous standoff with no easy exit. The outcome of this standoff will ripple across the global energy market, affecting prices and politics in every corner of the world. Behind every uniform is a human being with a family, waiting for orders that could change their lives forever. And behind every empty fishing net is a family struggling to survive in a sea that has become a militarized zone. This armada represents the pinnacle of human engineering, yet it is being deployed for a purpose that remains morally ambiguous. Perhaps one day, declassified documents will reveal the full story of what was really planned for the Caribbean during these tense months. Until then, we must rely on our critical thinking to analyze the events as they unfold before our eyes. There are always two paths forward, one of diplomatic engagement and mutual respect, and one of coercion and violent conflict. We can only hope that wisdom prevails and that the path of dialogue is chosen over the path of destruction. As the dawn breaks, it brings a reminder that darkness cannot hide the truth forever, and clarity will eventually emerge. We have seen the pretext of drugs, the reality of oil, and the overwhelming force of the military machine. It is a story of power, resources, and the narratives used to justify actions that would otherwise be unacceptable. We invite you to look at the facts, check the sources, and form your own understanding of this complex situation. In a connected world, what happens in the waters of the Caribbean eventually affects us all, no matter where we live. Nature continues its cycle, indifferent to human borders, while we struggle to find a way to coexist peacefully. The pursuit of oil has left scars across history, reminding us that resources are finite, but the cost of war is eternal. On the decks of the destroyers, the routine continues, a deceptive calm before a storm that we hope will never come. The billions spent on this deployment could have been used to build schools or hospitals, raising questions about our priorities. We owe it to the next generation to leave behind a world defined by cooperation, not by gunboat diplomacy and exploitation. The ocean is vast and timeless, and it will remain long after these fleets have rusted and these politicians are gone. Let us strive to make these waters a bridge between nations rather than a barrier of steel and fire. Imagine a Caribbean free from warships, where trade and tourism flourish and the people are free from the shadow of intervention. The dream of a united and sovereign Latin America remains alive, despite the pressures exerted by its powerful northern neighbor. But dreams require action, and awareness is the first step towards changing the policies that govern our world. Stay vigilant, question the narratives, and demand accountability from those who hold the power to wage war. The numbers, the maps, and the history all point to a conclusion that is different from the evening news. We have tried to shine a light on this complex issue, hoping to bring clarity to a murky situation. The resilience of the Venezuelan people is remarkable, enduring hardships that would break the spirit of many other nations. Their story deserves to be told with honesty, stripping away the political rhetoric to reveal the human reality underneath. We look forward to a day when the arrows on the map represent trade and cultural exchange, not missile trajectories. This chapter of history is still being written, and the ending will depend on the vigilance of the global community. From high above, we see one continent, shared by diverse peoples who should be partners, not adversaries, in a power game. The lights of our civilization shine bright, but they are fragile, easily extinguished by the folly of war. Even the soldiers are weary of endless wars, longing to return to their families and a life of peace. Resources should be a blessing that fuels progress for all, not a curse that attracts fleets of destruction. Let us envision a Caribbean where the only fleets are fishing boats and the only visitors are tourists seeking beauty. If you found this analysis valuable, share it with others to help spread awareness and challenge the official narratives. Support our channel so we can continue to bring you independent, in-depth explanations of the world's most critical issues. Our team is dedicated to digging deep, reading the fine print, and presenting you with the unvarnished truth. Stay tuned for our upcoming documentaries where we will explore other hidden conflicts and economic mysteries around the globe. Take a moment to reflect on what you have learned today and how it changes your perspective on global news. This moment in history will be remembered as a turning point, for better or for worse, depending on what happens next. The water reflects the sky, just as our foreign policy reflects our national values and our collective morality. Peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of justice, a justice that is currently missing here. We hope for a future where the white flag of peace is the only banner that needs to be raised. Until the ships return to port and the troops come home, the danger remains real and present for everyone involved. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the troubled waters of the Caribbean and the politics of oil. Knowledge is power, and we hope this video has empowered you to understand the world a little bit better. We have provided links to our sources and further reading in the description below for those who want to dig deeper. Join our growing community of critical thinkers from around the world who refuse to accept the simple explanations. We will be back soon with another deep dive into the stories that matter. Until then, stay curious and stay safe. This has been a presentation by Simply Explain All. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.